Before we begin, there's a few things that you should be aware of. If you're doing a SIMnet project that is auto-graded, always use the SIMnet project instructions and the start file in the SIMnet project area. That's what you see on the screen right here. It's really important that you get your instructions right from there. Secondly, if you're doing a project that is not auto-graded, such as pause and practice, we highly encourage that you use the instructions in the sim book rather than the printed book if you have it, because the sim book project instructions are always up to date. And then lastly, there are slight differences between Office 365 and 2019. The book and project instructions are written in Office 365, and where differences exist, they'll be noted in the project instructions or in the sim book. Okay, let's begin. In this video, we're going to complete the Access 2019 Guided Project 1-2. It's Chapter 1. So the first step has us download, which you can see right here, the start file. It's down in the lower left-hand portion of the screen. I'll do so. Since I'm using Chrome, I can see that it downloads in the lower left. I believe Firefox downloads in the upper right. It also goes to my downloads folder. I also know in a future step that I'm going to need a resource, which is an Excel workbook. So I'm going to click on that right now, just so I have it in my downloads area. If you need any help with downloads, you can simply click on the question mark up there, click on SIMnet Instant Help, then you'll see a resources area, and there's lots of information that can help you. So let's click on the start file. As always, it'll open up in protected view here. Simply double click the enable content button. That'll allow you to work with this particular Access start file. Also, if you're directed to rename your start file, now's the time to do it. Otherwise, you can leave it as is. And then 1C, it wants us to set up or start or create a table. So I need to click on the Create tab in the upper left-hand portion of the screen, click on Table, and that'll set us up for future steps. That completes Step 1. Step 2 has us double-click the cell containing ID field. So it's right up here. Hopefully you can see that on my screen. Double-click, and it wants us to rename it as Member ID. And then it wants us to hit the Enter button. Now, before we go any further, I want to say a few things. This program is very particular. If you make any sort of spelling mistake, it will mark you off. And then also, I have a printed copy of the instructions. You don't have to have that, but it makes it much easier as I go over each step, each little portion. I check it off so I don't miss anything. Very easy to miss things because there's a lot of little intricate steps. So moving on, you can see that there's a lot of different options available to me. We're going to repeat the same pattern, except for the second to last choice. Just follow along. We need to click on short text. Then we need to type in first name. Make sure you get the capitalization and everything correct. Click enter, short text, last name. And now it wants us to do it for the remaining fields. So short text, if you accidentally hit the space bar, it'll make that little noise. So take your time here. Now pay attention. After I hit the enter button after zip code, it wants us to choose hyperlink because people will be using a hyperlink in this particular field. Then the last one has us put in cell phone number. And one of the quick little nuances of Access is if I want to just move down to the next row, I can hit the down button, the down arrow, and you can see it moves down to the next one. That's a little shortcut that always works. And once us hold down the control button and S to save it, that's a little trick in most Microsoft products to save it. It'll open up this new dialog box. Type in members. And watch what happens over here. You're going to see this change name. Now it's named the members table. And that completes step 2. Step 3, we're going to edit the field properties. And once again, this is not a hard step, but there's a lot of little pieces to it. So we need to click on the member ID field name, right where it says member ID. And then we need to choose up here the Fields tab. Click on Name and Caption. And then there's 3 choices: Name, Caption, Description. We need to click on the Caption button, and then where that space is, type in member ID, then click OK. Then click on the first name field, name and caption. And by the way, if this keeps disappearing, it's because this ribbon isn't pinned. Over in the upper right, you might see a little pin. Hopefully you do. If I click it, it'll hold this in place so I don't have to keep going back up top. So you can make that go up, or you can click on the field, any of those tabs, and then hit the pin button, and that'll keep it there permanently. Okay, so we're clicked on first name, name and caption, first name. Click OK. Now, before we do anything else here, it wants us, since we're on this first name field there, we need to change the field size to 20. So you'll see where it says field size, I can simply type in 20. And as soon as I click anywhere else, that'll lock that into place. So in 3J, it says change the remaining fields, which I will do. Click on last name, name and caption, caption area. And it's very, very easy to make a mistake here. For this particular one, it wants us to make that 25. Next, click on address. It's not concerned with the caption, but it does want us to change the field size to 45. Then we'll click on city. Wants us to change that to 25. State to 2, and that makes sense. Zip code to 5. Email address. Wants us to change the name and caption, but not the field size, because people's email addresses can be very long, so they don't want to cap it. Click OK. Then cell phone number, it wants us name and caption. Type in cell phone, OK, with a field size of 12. So we're going to click the save button to change. A couple different ways to save things. I'm going to use the little diskette, the little disk button in the upper left-hand portion at the very top to save it, and that locks it into place. That completes step 3. Nice job, everybody. Step 4, we're going to enter member records, and this can be a little bit tedious, and you certainly want to take your time here. We need to click on the first cell below first name, and this person's name is Geneva. Hit the tab button to go to last name, lingual, then address, keep tabbing over after you type it in there. When you get to the phone number, type it in exactly the way you see it. Watch what happens when you tab after cell phone. It comes down here under the member ID column. We need to tab one more time. So we're in the first name column there. And then we need to fill out the rest of the information. This will take a minute or two. least for me, perhaps not for you. And down at the next row, you have to hit the tab once again to get under first name. I'm going to continue typing in information. Finally, the last one. Just going to hit the tab one more time to lock it in place after Roy Baxter's information. I want to do a quick double check to see if there's any obvious misspellings. Very easy to do something wrong. And I can see that I did make a mistake. So I'm going to double click back in there. Put in that hyphen. And that looks pretty good. And that completes step 4. Step 5 says to change the layout of the members table. So we need to select the zip column right here. We're going to right click and we're going to click on field width. It's going to do exactly what you think it does. I'm going to change the width and press OK. Change it to 7. You can see how it changes right there. Next, while that's still highlighted, we're going to head over to the center alignment button. You need to click on the home tab. You're going to see it over to the right. Most Microsoft products on the left. Here they put it on the right for some unknown reason. But the center align button will center align that. Then I need to click on the state column. And it wants us to use that auto fit. We need to find the resize arrow. If I hover in between the state and the zip code, you can see it. You can see the resize arrows right there. If I double click, it'll then resize that particular column. It'll auto fit it. And then we need to click the center align button. And next, we need to click on the alternate row color. If you've ever noticed on tables, sometimes they're hard to read, so they add an alternate row of a different color. Well, there's an automated feature in Excel and Access to do that. And here it's over on the right in the text formatting grouping, still in the home tab. If you hover over it, it'll say alternate row color and wants us to choose, at least as the writing of these instructions, blue gray text 2, 80%, lighter 80%. Make sure you follow what's in the instructions. I do that, you can see how it changes that particular alternate row color. I hold down Control and S. Save it. And then we need to close the members table. There's a couple different ways to do this. I'm simply going to click on the little X to the right of the members area. and that'll close it out. If you wanted to open it up again, you can simply click members or double click it. That'll open it, but you don't have to do that right now. I'm going to close it so it's completely closed, and that'll complete step 5. Step 6, here's where we're going to import data from Excel into the members table, and you should have already downloaded that Excel workbook file. If you didn't, now's the time to do it from the main page in SIMnet, but we've already done it. You can watch the very beginning of the video to see how to do that. So what I'm going to do is follow the steps very carefully here. Click on external data. And we need to choose new data source. It's over here on the left-hand side. New data source, click. It says from file, because it is a file. Choose Excel. We need to find it, so wherever you downloaded it on your computer, I know for me it goes into my downloads. So I click it right there. Select it. I click it once and then click open. And that puts it in there. And then it says, click on append a copy of the records to the table. It's going to add some more information. Now, please note that it wants us to add it to this particular table. There's only one table in there, so it's really easy. If you had multiple tables, you would have to select the proper table. But since there's only one, you can't really make an error there. And then click OK. And you can see it's going to add this information. Click Next. Finish. And then close. And that completes step 6. Step 7 says to open up the members table so you can check it out. So I'm simply, you can see it over here. I'm going to double click it. And now there should be 14 records right here. If there wasn't, you'd have to go back and redo that previous step. But here we did everything correct. So that's perfect. Step 9, we're going to sort the members table. So we need to click the drop-down arrow to the right of city, right here. And it says sort A to Z. You can see what happens. It sorts it A to Z, obviously. Then it wants us to show us removing it. So I need to be on the Home tab, and there's a button called Remove Sort, and that'll put it back to the original. Then we need to select the zip column. So I click on that, and then I'm going to hold and I'm going to drag it to the left of the last name column. You can see it puts it over there. In a moment, we're actually going to put it back, but for now, that's perfect. It says click anywhere to deselect it, so just click inside there. And then it wants us to hold the pointer over the zip column and select the zip and the last name. It's going to show us how to sort two things at once. So I'm just going to click on zip once, and then I'm going to, and this can be a little bit finicky here. Let me click off of that. I'm going to hold it over the zip. There we go. And let me do that one more time, because it's really easy to click on it and then hold down and then move it. So we don't want to do that. I want to click off it, hover over zip, hold down the main mouse button, and that'll allow you to select two different columns. Then it wants us to choose ascending. And you can see it puts it in ascending order. Then I'm going to click Remove Sort really quick to get rid of that. It's just showing you how to do it. And then finally, it says click anywhere in the table to deselect the top portion up there. And then it wants us to put the zip column back to the right of the city column. So I'm going to click on that once, and then I'm going to hold down my mouse button. And I released it too soon. Here we go. There we go. And now it's back to the right of the city column. That completes step 9. Step 10. We need to filter the members table by using the filter by selection button. So we need to select the 916 in the member ID number 2. So it's over here. Wants us just to select 916. And you'll see it probably in black right there. And then we need to click the selection button, home tab if you're not there. Home tab, selection, there's a drop down. One of the choices says begin with. Watch what happens. You can see that now it only has members that had begin with cell phone 916. And then it wants us to choose the drop down arrow to the right of the cell phone field and clear filter from cell phone. And that completes step 10. Step 11, it says click the drop down arrow to the right of the email field name. It's right up here. And it wants us to choose or hover over text filters and then choose contains. It's going to do exactly what you think it's going to do. We're going to be able to filter these by the word Gmail. If I click OK, you can see how it just has emails with the Gmail in there. We can toggle back and forth to the full version here with everything in it. Click toggle a couple times. I'm going to toggle back to where it's filtered, and then I'm going to click the drop down arrow next to the email again, and it says clear filter with email, and I do so, and now it's back to normal. That completes step 11. Hang in there, folks, we are almost done. Step 12, it says close the members table. We don't want to save anything here, so there's an X right by the word members. In previous versions, it was way over here on the right, and now I see it's right here for 2019. Wherever the X is in here, close it, and it's going to ask you, would you like to save things? Click no. And that'll complete step 12. Now we're going to double click back on the members table to open it back up. And we're going to look at everything, and it says to check it out to make sure it looks similar to figure 1-115. It's looking pretty good on my end right here. Just one more double check here. It says really ensure that it's not filtered in any of the previous ways we filtered it. I don't believe that it is. That looks good. Okay, so we're going to close the table by clicking the X one more time. And then on 14, it says add database properties. So I need to click on file, and then it probably opens up in the info here. But if it doesn't, you'll have to click on info, and then it'll say view and edit database properties. And since we're so close, you do not want to misspell anything here. We need in the title area, make sure it's the title area. We need to type in American River members. In the author area, we need to type in Taylor Mathos. And then the company, ARCC, in the company. Click OK. And that looks good for 14. In 15, it says close the database by clicking the X in the upper right. So I'll do so. And then 16, it says upload and save. And finally, 17 says to submit your project for grading. Best of luck, everybody.